Hi, today we're going to be talking about saws. Mainly backpacking type saws. Something you're going to be able to throw in your backpack and carry with you and still do a decent amount of work. Now, we're going to kind of start with our smallest and work our way up here. This guy, we're going to be able to, this is the Gerber saw. These are foldable saws, so basically real easy to carry with you. Throw them in there, unlock them. That's nice. They have an actual locking mechanism. I definitely recommend if you're going to get one of these folding saws, you get one with a locking blade. That does help. It comes with two different blades, one for more soft woods, one for more hard woods or bone type applications if you're hunting. At 6.5 inches, about the biggest log we're going to be able to take, or biggest board. I usually try to say that if you're going to try to do about a 1/3 the length of your blade cut. So at 6 inches, 2 inches about the biggest stick you're going to cut. These work really good to give to scouts if they want to do building of shelters, things like that. They want to get hot dog sticks, great to put in your day packs, things like that. These are great for that. What they suck at is cutting actually wood for fires. It just really is too small. Now you could use it to maybe get your fire started, but you're going to end up with sticks, anything over about 2 inches just not working. Then you can go now. The Silky versions of saws, you can get all the way up to, 650 millimeters, a fairly large blade. They get very heavy at that point and excruciatingly expensive. So I always try to keep my stuff around $100 or less. The most popular saw they have out there is the Silky Big Boy. Has a couple different adjustment settings, so it can be done on a flat area. So if I'm cutting on the ground, I can cut down here, or if I'm cutting up, I can do that. These are great for people that are in high desert areas. People that are going to have a lot of sticks all over their tree where it's going to be hard to cut something actually into slabs, where a bucksaw would be catching on all the brush that's around them. So if you're able to sit there and cut limbs off with one of these, it makes it really nice that way, where a bucksaw tends to not do as well. Saying that, it's not the saw I would choose. Now, I'm going to cut a little bit with each ones and kind of tell you how I feel about them. This has the curved blade. This is their extra large teeth, which I think is great for cutting soft woods that you're going to be burning in the woods. So keep in mind, in the woods when we're camping, we're cutting dry wood, and it tends to be soft wood, at least in my area. So kind of keep in mind. So we're going to count strokes. All the saws that I'm going to be putting in my pack are about the same size. This one weighs just about a pound. The Sven saw, I know I say that wrong every time. This one is a 21-inch blade and weighs just under a pound, about 14 ounces. You have your Bob's bucksaw, Bob Dustrude's bucksaw. This is a 24-inch blade and weighs just 1 pound 1 ounce. So very similar. These guys run right around $70. You can look at, if you look hard, you can sometimes find them in the lower 50s range. So these are pull stroke only. So these saws, they only pull. So as you're pushing forward, you have to let pressure off. And this is why I tend to say they're bad for scouting people, because you can actually bend the blade by tweaking them and pushing. It will bind, and you can actually snap the blade. A little dangerous in my opinion, but also you have the problem with, you snap a blade, it's useless out in the woods. So kind of keep that in mind. So when we go in, we're going to pull back. We let off pressure, pull back, let off pressure, we pull back. So let's kind of start. I'll do a quick little cut on this. Like I said, it's 2.5 inches, and we're talking about strokes. Your movement in your arm, you're going to be burning about the same amount of energy, I think, on all three of these. It's just how fast you're going to get it done. And strokes versus time per se is not as big a deal to me as it is more in the idea of, the actual stroke itself.
Getting the video too.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to count. So I usually only count the back strokes and then just double it at the end to kind of give you an idea of what it is. But we'll go ahead and cut both just so you guys have an idea. Now the problem I have with this is I have arthritis in my hands, and gripping the saw blade tight enough to be able to do it is a problem. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull back. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 22 strokes. Remember, it is try to get it as far as you can without popping all the way out. You pop out, that's usually how you're going to snap a blade. So that would be a problem. And like I said, the ability for it to adjust. You know, where do I find this saw in my pack? Like I said, if I'm going to high desert. If you have somebody that doesn't like putting things together, these are real simple. You know, you just open them up, they lock in place, and you go to work. I have a real hard time with this saw killing my hand because of the constant pulling back and forth. So that's really hard on my hand to grip it. I talked to my kids about it. They all noticed the same thing where we're actually having to grip, and for a long distance of pull has an issue. Now, the probably most popular saw out there that everybody buys their first saw is going to be the Sven saw, and that takes, you're going to undo a little, wing nut here at the back, which can get lost, which is why I don't like it. You pull it out. You're going to go ahead. Now this comes with a drywood blade on it. And we'll talk about the difference in drywood and Greenwood blades here in a second on our last saw. You go ahead, you tighten it up, and you have to replace it with their blade that comes with the bolt already on it. So the blades are a little on the, about $15 for the blade. You're looking at about $34 for the saw. That is the real problem. You cannot sharpen the Silky blades, and they're very expensive to replace. $40, $50 sometimes just for the blade. Now this saw is one of my favorite saws because, one, it does a really good job. Two, it's easy for the scouts to use because it has smaller teeth, so the teeth are not aggressive. So the biggest problem with it is cutting this size wood, no problem. But as I get the wood bigger, I'm going to get less of a stroke in the saw. And the benefit of a bucksaw or a bow saw is definitely the ability to use the whole blade without it binding up on you. So we'll go ahead and do this one again. We'll just count the back strokes. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. Little slower. Remember, 21-inch blade. The nice thing is, a much cheaper blade to replace. Now let's talk real quick about Greenwood, a Greenwood blade, and a drywood blade. Now, this is not hard and soft. This is green, wet wood versus seasoned wood. You'll see a lot of times. So a seasoned wood blade has no rakers, which is that extra little double tooth. And if you can see that, there's a double tooth every so often that's slightly shorter than all the others. In wet wood, we need that to be able to pull the material out of the saw. So out of the saw blade, so it doesn't clog up the cut. In a drywood application, we don't need that. So most of your saws are going to come with this. This is an arborist blade. Something to think about. We want to use a drywood blade, and that has no rakers all the way down. So that will be a full, just a tooth every so often. You actually think a lot of times that's the worst way to go. In camping, we use dry wood. So definitely something to think about there. Now let's talk a little bit about this guy as far as cutting capacity. The biggest log you're really going to be able to get in there, even in the saw at the end, is going to be 9 inches. But we go all the way down to really a cuttable 2-inch at the very end. So something definitely to think about. Really, like I said, 21 inches. We want to cut that in thirds. You know, you do the math. We're doing 7 inches, about as big a log as we can get in here effectively and still be able to use the saw. And I think even then on this one, somewhere around the 6-inch range is about as big as, because I'm not going to be able to use the full blade. Also, to think about, your hand is going to take up a couple inches of the saw blade also. So what saw do I like? So this is the saw I use. This is called the Bob's Bucksaw, or Bob Dustrude's Bucksaw. Now, this has a couple modifications to it. One, this part right here, if you buy one, please hollow this out so you can fit your finger in there to open the saw. So I kind of went in there and ground that out so it was big enough for my finger to fit in there. Doesn't affect the cutting at all, just makes it easier to open up. This saw can open all, you know, it's real simple, can be put together either direction. So we're going to open it up, we're going to slide it over, and it tensions with no loose pieces. The Sven saw and some of the other saws out there you'll have little wing nuts, things like that, not a big deal. Again, it comes with a Greenwood blade. And if you guys can see that, every 4th tooth has a raker blade. I recommend replacing it with a drywood blade. It is much, much faster. We found it to be about 20 to 50% faster, cutting-wise, with the drywood blade on it. Now, you can actually buy, I have an extra handle that I run with mine, and so if I'm going to go out there and I know that I'm maybe going to be stacking up wood for another time, I might go ahead and cut some Greenwood. I just bring an extra handle with it on there. I do not, people will talk about this saw having a problem with being able to put blades on and off. I don't think it's that big a deal. I've never had to switch out a blade in the middle of a trip. Now, if you're going into the woods, yeah, it might be. It does take a Leatherman and really 2 Leathermen on the front to take the little nut off. But what's nice about this saw is you'll see it's symmetrical. It actually has the same amount of cutting all the way through. So we're just about, from the top to the bottom here, about 7.5 to 7 3/4 inches all the way down to the tip of the teeth. So that's as big a board as we can fit in there. I've been able to cut about 9-inch logs with this, and that works really well, and I can use the full length of the blade. Now, because it is, you know, you'll see like the Boreal 21, another great saw, nothing wrong with that. And this one's made by a 93-year-old from last time I checked man. And he is probably going to pass away and this saw may go away. I definitely recommend buying one if you're going to do it. The Boreal's a little heavier and it has more of an angle to it. So again, you're going to get less size of log. So the way these work, this is probably the hardest to get started. We recommend our Scout grab all the way through in case it bounces off. It can't hurt you. You know, if you got your hand right here and it bounces on you, it will get you in the hand and it will cut you up pretty good. So what we always try to do is we do small strokes to get started, and then we'll go ahead, and like I said, we'll go ahead and we'll just, this is a push saw, which means instead of pulling, the best stroke is in the forward motion, but it also does cut in the reverse. So it cuts both directions. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to pull through, so 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16.5 strokes. Now, can I go faster? Absolutely. What I do like about a bucksaw versus a folding saw is its ability to, one, use the full blade, have a cheap replaceable blade. These are made by, I buy G-Man blades. They're a Swedish company. They make Swedish blades. They're actually from Sweden. A couple other companies out there, you know, make some great blades, but these tend to do, in my opinion, the best. They're heat treated. You'll see little burn marks all the way down along the edge. Definitely something to think about. In Scouts, we mandate that the saw, you know, a saw has a sheath on it. So if you buy a bucksaw just by itself, which you can, and just strap that on your pack, it's not going to hurt nothing. A little cheaper way to go, a little heavier way, because usually those are made out of steel. You have to put a sheath on there. These build their own sheath into it. One, I really like this handle. Now you hear a lot of people state that they hate how thick the handle is. To me, that helps on the palm of your hand when you're pushing, because remember, this is a push, saw versus a pull saw. So a lot of people, they're gripping the saw too tight around the top here. It's a loose grip, and you're pulling easy and letting the saw do the work on the pull stroke, and then you're pushing with your power stroke. So you're sitting there and you're just nice and easy pull, and push is your hard one. So the push to me is a more place where I'm going to hurt my hand. The Sven saw and some of the other ones out there that are real thin here, they just kill my hand using it more than 10 or 12 sticks of wood. So something to think about. And again, I don't like the idea of being able to grip and having to hold on to it when I really pull and push. That grip, I have to kind of white knuckle it to do that, and that's hard for me to do multiple times. Now, is it impossible? No, absolutely not. It's doable. It's a very popular saw. There's nothing wrong with Silky saws. Saying that, this is a better saw. Just is. It doesn't bind. The blades are cheap and easy to replace. I can keep 10 blades at my house for $100 versus 2. So kind of keep that in mind. About 1 pound 1 ounce. A very simple system. No screws, no buttons, no nothing. The only things I've done to it to upgrade it a little bit, like I said, are going to be this, the better blade. I recommend they come in 3 different sizes, 21, 24, and 30. I think the 24 is the way to go. It tends to be easy to find blades for, and it also is kind of the 30-inch doesn't have any taller of a blade. It just has a longer blade. To me, there's no benefit, just extra weight. So I really like this. The 24, it seems like it's a real good, when I'm stroking with it, I've got a really good stroke. I don't feel like I'm overdoing it. I don't feel like I'm underdoing it, and the idea that I'm not having to go too far forward and too far backwards. It still works as a great single saw, or I can use it both-handed if I'm really cutting bigger wood. So I hope this helps you guys kind of decide what to pick as far as saw-wise. Remember, these are backpacking camping saws. You can have any saw you want. I hope this kind of helps you guys understand the difference in blades, kind of the different ideas, what works best for you. But I feel for the scouting organization, your kids, they're going to learn this fastest. And the biggest thing we try to get them to do, I'll tell you the trick in all bow saws or any saw really, is not to do this. This is what I see so many scouts do, is this little back and forward motion right here. It is a long, all the way through cut, very tip, as far as I can get it to go. If I can go all the way through, that's the most benefit to the least amount of work. So we want something around 1 pound, something that's going to be 21 to 24 inches in length. Bow saw, because it's cheap to replace in case they ding up your blade on a rock or something like that. $11, $14 for the G-Man blade. Your Bako blades cost you about $11. And easy to take apart, stores in the handle, and is really something small and easy to carry. So, folds up just like it comes out. Go ahead and fold it over. And the nice thing is it is symmetrical, so they don't have to worry about putting the blade in, on either side. It works the same.